is going on, everybody? Welcome in to BTL Live. We are here with a very special live episode on YouTube talking about eBay comps are dead, but the hobby is way more fun without them anyways. Welcome in. I am Breaking the Law. Thanks for joining us here. As always, if you are not in our Discord, join at the link below. Make sure you like and subscribe and give us a follow on Instagram. We have a very special topic tonight, and to help us talk about the nature of the eBay comp, we are bringing in a special guest. I'm happy to bring in Scott, who's the man behind Soccer Cards HQ. You guys know him as the king of the soccer card review. He is the one breaking down all of the new releases as they come out, posting about them, writing about them, giving in-depth reviews. He's constantly on Twitter and Instagram posting about special cards, soccer cards that are ending that day, and maybe some that are under comps and might be some good value. And so we wanted to get together and talk about a topic that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts. So we're going to bring in the man now, I think. Let's see if we got him. You with me?
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome in. Welcome in. All right. So let's get it started, because I know we posted about this on social media. There was a lot of comments. eBay comps. Give me your 30-second spiel on what you think about them, why you think maybe they're not as useful as they used to be.
I think that in a down market, too many people are trying to manipulate prices of their cards. Therefore, these eBay comps just aren't as reliable. Plus, there's so many different selling platforms now. It's just too hard, to peg a price to a certain card when there's just so many variables. And what happens is people find, if you're going after a card, people find the lowest one, and that's the price they want. If someone's trying to get rid of their card, they find the highest one, and that's the one they want. And then we dealmate where there's not a lot of transacting going on, and the hobby is just not as fun in that environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So we have a little example of that. Actually, a few examples. We wanted to share some data and then kind of dig in and talk a little bit more about this. So you pulled the Holland. Tell us about this card. This is the Holland Museum Collection, right?
Yeah, it's the Holland Legendary Museum on card 25 auto. I'm pretty sure these four were all different sales. I mean, different cards, even though, yeah. And so you see it fluctuates $1,000 essentially. And it's like, if you look at this, what is the comp? These sales are pretty close to each other, a little over 2 weeks. So it's like I said, if someone looks at, if you're trying to buy this card, you're going to try to get it for the lowest number. And if you're trying to sell the card, you're going to try to get it for,
That's right. Yeah.
Get close to the high number. And so this card is just it's going to be hard to move.
Yeah. If you have two reasonable people, I would think, thinking back to like what a comp even is, right? Or maybe in some other industries where comp is short for comparable sale, right? So in real estate, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll take three recent similar selling properties, and that becomes the average of those three becomes the comp, right? So I could see if you're a reasonable buyer and seller and you agree on an average of the three most recent sales, maybe you could get a deal done. But yeah, for sure.
It rarely happens like that.
Especially at a card like this. Yeah. A card like this where you're at a few $1,000, it's not a $50 card, right? Like we got another example of this on a smaller card, smaller in terms of value, maybe not smaller in terms of importance. The Jude Bellingham, Jamal Musiala to 99 dual Chrome auto. So these, Chrome kind of rolled out the duals and triple autos this year, which have been great, and then Topps has carried them through every damn set they've released since Chrome. So maybe not as great as we thought it was at first, but like, you know, you look at this thing and within the past month, you've got eBay auction at $860. Then you got an eBay auction at $381. Then at $730. Then at $475. Then at $670. It's like, what the hell? Like, if I'm trying to buy or sell this card, which at one point I was trying to buy the black to 10 version of this, it's like, where do you go? How do you fake? You know, you just.
I think the biggest problem is that very, very few people look into a comp and try to figure out like why that card went for that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different factors, like what time the card ends, you know, where the seller is from. Is there something in the description that's like, you know, this thing has a ding? Is there, you know, an obvious surface mark on the card that you can see, you know, when you hover, when you zoom? But none of that ever, like if you're at a card show and you're looking at the card and you just pull this up, you're like, all right, that's the comp, you know. And these freaking apps that like try to aggregate this data, like to me, they're, you know, I get what they're trying to do, but they're essentially worthless. Like if they're just pulling out, like if they're just looking at this and trying to put a number on this card based on these 5 sales, like you're not getting the whole story. You don't know what shilled. You know, there's just too many variables, and people are just, you know, they're not putting in that time.
The same card sold twice. You know, especially if you're using 130 point, it's picking up sales that may not have been paid for. Shilling, like you said, I know that's a topic you're constantly on, you know, monitoring in terms of looking at the pedigree of some of the bidders, the timing, right? Like somebody ended this auction on a Wednesday at 2:20 in the afternoon. Like that's going to probably perform worse than a Sunday night ending. Where the card's located, right? I agree with you. I think, especially in the soccer market where it's a smaller market, unless you're talking about a card that's highly liquid, like we always talk about the Holland Sapphire rookie, right? PSA 10. Right. There's 1,100 of them. They're selling all the time. Right. But a card like this, where you've only got 5 sales in the past month, or even the Holland to 25 that we looked at, you got 4 sales in a month and a half time period. It's just almost impossible unless you do dig down deep and kind of. But then, if I'm the buyer and I do that work and I present it to the seller, they're probably just going to pass, right? Like, you're potentially no further along. One of the things that I think is interesting that you brought up is this idea of multiple platforms potentially damaging the eBay comp. And we've got some data to look at, or at least some sales to look at. This is Mbappe rookie sticker, the 2016 Panini Foot, PSA 9. And so what's a little interesting here is, and it may be hard to see, so I'll kind of narrate for you. The REA is that Robert Edwin auction, I think, that auction, like an auction house. You could get it there for $630. Yeah. You get it at PWCC for $780. Those are the only sales that have been under $800 in the past month and a half. Everything on eBay's gone over $850. So is this arbitrage game you could play, right? Where like you're buying potentially on another platform that doesn't have as much visibility and then flipping it onto eBay. I mean, you wouldn't make much money here with fees, but certainly that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, PWCC's caught up a lot, but it also depends on the cards. Like the deep cards in PWCC, like there's definitely arbitrage there. Some of the bigger ones, there's obviously arbitrage. You know, but it's a matter of the people, like even card hobby. Like I know a guy I speak to a lot in the hobby. He grinds cheap card hobby cards that nobody, you know, wants to deal with. Like, and if you're trying to make money, like that's a way to make money. Like you're not going to be rich, you know, but if you're like, hey, I want to like get into this full time, I enjoy it, and I just want to grind out a couple $100 a day, you can you can grind card hobby for $10 and under cards, bring them to to eBay, sell them for 20, 25, $30 or whatever. It's not something I'm going to do. It's not something you're going to do.
No.
You but like that the opportunity is there. And like, so what does that say about comps? Like, of course, like something coming from Asia to America is always going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, is that a comp? Like, what is the factor? What is the multiplier? Like, people probably don't care. They probably don't even think about it. It's just gotten to this point where not everybody, I would say the post-boom collector, which is a majority of soccer, is just so worried about the making the money part and winning the deal that they're not enjoying cards like someone like me that's been in cards their whole life. I took some time off, but like, I grew up on cards. I set collect with my mom and my grandma, and back then there was a bracket guide, right? And they basically told you what a card was worth. Yeah. And so there was none of this, money making, quick flipping, yada, yada, yada. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to go back to that. Right.
Yeah,
right. I don't think that's the way it should be. But at the same time, like, I've thought about it. Like, what if we only had, like, say 5 comps a week that came out, like a cheap card, an under $4 card, $100 card, a $500 card, $1,000 card, and a $5,000 card. Like, and that's all we had. And we knew they were legit. And then we just kind of had to figure everything out else based on that. Like,
based on that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like, I think there would be way more transacting. I think there would be way more people like, well, I think this player is as good, better, not as good as that player X or whatever. And other people would say, oh, I don't think this guy's any good, so I'm willing to make this deal based on this. But now what we have is a copycat game. It's like, all right, I want this card. Let me see what it comps for, and then go from there. Like, it's almost there's not a lot of thought. It's like I said, it's like copying off of somebody else's paper, but their answer might not even be right because of different factors.
A million factors, right? Yeah. Yeah, and you get like, these guys' cards are. The thing that really rubs me the wrong way a lot of times is that the guys who have never played, and I get it, the rookie chase is the chase, right? But like the guys who have never played a game in their lives, cards selling for more than established stars, right? And it's just like based on what? Like, what is this based on? Like,
that's a whole different episode.
That's true. There's no real scarcity anymore, and that's a whole other episode too. But like, the comp thing for me, I think about it like this. Like, if the card is under 100, and I recognize I probably am not the majority of people, but like, if the card's under $100, like I have a system when I'm buying, especially when I'm preparing for a show, like I'm preparing for an all slab show, right? So like I am acquiring a lot of slabs that I think I can sell on live auction. And so I'm buying cards. I'm not looking at like the last comp on a PSA 9 Jude Bellingham to 150. Like, I don't care. Like, I want the card. I think I know where I can sell it at. I'm going to set my auction limit. And if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Like, I'm not doing a deep dive on a $30 card. Like,
that's kind of how I treat PWCC. Like, I just go through PWCC. Same. Right. I'll do it, and I'll just start bidding on cards that I like. Right. Yeah. And then the night of, I don't go back. I don't have it's not that I don't have the time. I just really don't want to put in the effort to go comp, 50, 75 cards. Right.
No.
And so I have a pretty good idea of what like cards sell for. Obviously I look at cards a ton. I'm doing the auction post. So like I have a general idea. And so I go through and I'm like, I think this card is worth roughly this, kind of like you said. And I bid, to that, or get it or I don't. Now, sometimes I'm paying over comps, but like it's one of those things where for me, it's if I have to pay an extra $10 and I don't have to study 50, 75 cards, I'm fine with it. And to be honest, usually those are the cards that like I'd end up doing the best on in the long run because I'm putting some thought behind of like, this is what I think this card should be worth. This is where I think this person's market is heading. And that's usually better than like being a slave to the comp, like, because then you could talk yourself out of what could be like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's especially true in a down market. We see, if you trust the card ladder data, we're down 30% in soccer this year.
I don't, but anyway.
Totally fair. We all know that it's that the singles market is down, right? And so, or at least went down. I don't know that it's still going down, but in a situation like that, especially when you look at a platform like PWCC, it tends to have the same types of things every week, but a lot of that stuff is stuff that you won't see like in an eBay auction typically. A lot of the older pre-modern, certainly vintage too, but I tend to not go back that far. But like the pre-modern stuff that is just kind of on PWCC every week. The second, third, fourth year Messi, Ronaldo, mega crack stuff that's always there. But there's a great opportunity then, at least I've found, getting those cards, not being a slave to the comp, and then bringing them to people either on Whatnot or eBay that aren't seeing those cards every week because they're not hustling through the PWCC auction. Like a lot of people still don't even know. And you mentioned card hobby. I'm sure a ton of our viewers don't spend a ton of time on the Chinese eBay card hobby and then dealing with their shipping and waiting 19 days to get them to weigh everything for you. But so, there's opportunities out there. I think the thing that causes the most stress in the hobby is not like comping something to bid on it at auction or on eBay, but I think it's interpersonal transactions where we don't have a fundamental agreement on the value of a comp, how useful it is, and where we should be meeting in terms of arriving at a value if we want to do a purchase and a buy and a sale, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the comps often, I guess they just feel different. Because like if you offer me something on eBay and I offer you something higher, it goes nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 clicks, nobody cares, so be it. If we're at a show and like we're both showing interest, we're spending the time, that's when it gets more frustrating of like, we kind of both want this deal to happen. We're at this place, we came to transact in cards, and we just can't figure it out because we're going by this, in most cases, an eBay comp that we don't really even know if it's real. We don't know the circumstances behind it, and like I said, and it rears its ugly head in a down market, because people get more desperate to get every single dollar out of a transaction. I'm not one of those people, but I realize a lot of people are. I saw Anthem Collectibles, I think it was. He did an IG story the other night. He's like, "You're really not going to do a deal over $3?" Like, I can't even like fathom, not doing a deal over $3 where there's clearly a card I want to sell and there's clearly a card that this person wants to buy. But look, some people just have to win the deal. Some people, I guess, look, I grew up very poor. I'm not trying to belittle $3.
Same. Yeah, same.
But at some point, you just gotta, that's what I mean when I say we'd be more fun without them, because I don't think there's a $3 or $5 or $10 loss if there's not a way for someone to point to a figure, a comp.
Yeah.
Like if it's just like we need to roughly figure out what this is worth and there's nothing to compare it against, then now we're probably going to get that deal done.
Yeah. Agreed.
Or
and reasonable people, those of us who aren't grinding it out to make a living, because that's a whole separate thing. For those of us that it's a hobby, you're more likely to get that deal done, right? Like it's just because there's people that that you deal with that are reasonable. And then there's people that are just absolute pricks about the value of their cards, buying and selling, right? Like, and you're just, I mean, that to me, that's all the stress of the hobby, where it's like, if you want an extra $10 for this card, I'm just going to pay you the extra $10. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk off, but like, sure. You know what I mean? Like, let's get the deal done. I want to leave with positive vibes. But there are people who will walk away from a deal over $5 or $10. And eventually, as the seller, you're like, well, I'm just like, dude, like, I'm not going to keep bending over for you. Like, meet the price. It's not that much, you know, on a smaller card. Like, let's do this deal and get done with it. But a lot of people get worked up over this.
Yeah, it's, you know, I see it. There's somebody there's a couple people in the hobby that you know, I try to deal in, I don't know if you want to call it the mid or high or what have you, that they have great cars. I know I'm never, ever, ever going to do a deal with them. Like, it, you know, and it just, it is what it is. You know, they're the find the highest comp and for their card and find the lowest one for your card, you know? And it is, look, it's their prerogative.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their, like, you can do this hobby however you want, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So like that's all you. And I see them get over on a lot of people, and look, more power to them. You know, I'm more of if I see a card of yours I want, I'm probably going to lose the deal. I don't really care that much. You know, it's not going to be egregious, but I'm going to be more than reasonable, you know? And look, I just don't want stress in life, period. You know?
This is supposed to be fun. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely don't want the hobby causing me stress, you know?
No.
So that's why, you know, I mean, getting a little bit off topic here, but of course, like, tons of people ask me, feature my card. How much can I pay you to feature my card?
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm never going to take the money because I don't want the stress that goes along with it, you know? Because if it doesn't get what you think, or like you wanted me to post
then you're on the hook
a day before.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you know, I'm just going to post what I think is either cool or underpriced at the time, and that's just going to be what it is. But yeah, anyway, so
yeah, it's
I
one of
would
those,
just
it's got to be less stressful than golf. That's what I tell everybody. Like, if this is more stressful than golf, I'm going to go back to golf. You know, like,
yeah. Well, golf is very stressful for me. As someone who used to be good and doesn't play anymore, and now when I play, it's a disaster. Stressful. But anyway, that's
exactly. Guys, if you have, and also if anyone wants, speaking of sponsorships, I will take your money and feature whatever the hell you want. If you want to become a sponsor of BTL Live or the BTL Global Network, leave your comments. We're going to feature some comments. If you have any questions for the man while we've got him here, Soccer Cards HQ, we're going to do some more fun stuff in the future too. So feel free to leave any comments, questions, how you feel about comps.
I do want to bring up. Yeah, I do want to bring up that one thing I've said to you, and I've said it to a few others, and just to get your opinion. Can you get a good deal on eBay anymore, or did you just set a bad comp? Like, is it possible to get a good deal on eBay anymore in this down market? I think in an up market you can. In a down market, can you get a good deal?
I mean, both of those things could be true. You know, I think it depends on. To me, it depends on a few factors. One of them being the age of the card. Like, if you're talking about getting a great deal on a new release, like if I get some great deal on a Finest the Man card today, I'm fucking that card, I think, right? Because like, there's no history, and if the comp's already going to be crushed, like, the next 90 days are the whole life of that, you know, the whole important life of that, moving that card for a lot of people. And it is how we justify breaking and the ridiculous prices that wax cost, and that's a whole other show. But, you know, on a newer card, yeah, I think that's bad news. I think it's possible on a card that doesn't trade as much, you know, that's not as liquid. And if you get it at the right time, or you locate a buyer or a seller that's, you know, maybe overseas, so there's some hesitancy from some American buyers. Sure, I think there's deals to be had. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the more rare the card is, the better the chance you have. But
Yeah.
even recently, with these apps that are showing, more and more of the
Yeah.
sales,
Yeah.
people can probably find the card. Like I have a couple 101s that people want, and some people have went back and found like what I bought it for, and I'm
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that doesn't matter,
Yesterday's price is not
like
today's
to
price, my
me.
friend.
Yeah, and these are like a while ago. These aren't like I bought it yesterday or the last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever, and it just that's why I try to buy stuff. Look, I prospect. I don't prospect as much anymore in soccer just because of the overprinting. But like
Hmm.
that's like we said another show. But like I just think that if you can afford, which I know everybody can't, but buy the rarest card you can or buy the best version of the card you can, especially at this point in the hobby, because the less comps there are, you know, it does matter. I'm sure, well, you do the shows, you do your live stream. So it's a little bit different, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I don't, I definitely look, the money doesn't drive me at all in this hobby, but do I want to make money? Of course. Am I
Sure.
going to stress out about making money? No. But, it's, yeah, I mean, the overprinting sucks, man. It really, it really does.
And we'll talk about that,
Yeah.
I think, on a future show for sure. We're going to be filming and releasing on your site and on socials the video review of the new Finest product. So be on the lookout for that, because I'm sure there the overprinting topic will be beaten up a little bit.
Yeah.
The thing for me is that, it is a hobby for me. I'm not in it to make money. I don't want to lose a ton of money either, but if I can find a rare card that may not be something that's going to go into the PC forever, but I see like, I'm not a big Jude Bellingham collector, but over the past 6 months, and especially when he made the move to Real Madrid, I've been buying Jude wherever I could, thinking like this guy's got, room to pop, and I'll put the card away for 90 days, live out the eBay comp, because even though you say, a lot of people can see what you bought it for, in my experience, especially selling on a live platform like Whatnot, no one's going to like Terapeak. I mean, people still don't know what that is.
Yeah. I think I told you, I'm not sure if I told you, but like I had a card that I bought in December and I knew I got a good deal on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, I put the card up, the player got hot. I put the card up and everybody was trying to, it was a card that never like didn't have any comps. It was an of 25 and there wasn't really even many comps of like the other colors of the card because there
Mm-hmm.
weren't like a ton. Um, and people were just trying to, basically offer off my comp. It was, it was a pop two PSA 10. So the comp was mine. And you're absolutely right. After the 90 days, the
It's easier.
offers
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
higher. So yeah. And that's another thing. It's like, what does that say? You
Yeah. I
know,
know. I know.
like
Like
I mean, that
imagine
part of it is silly.
imagine 130 point just is able to somehow change their data scraping. Well, you can get beyond on eBay, not if you go out of that eBay tab. I'll tell people all the time because again, for me, if you want to buy the card, fine. I tell people all the time, we're not using my purchase as a comp. It's not a comp to me. So if that's what you think you're going to buy
Yeah.
it with, I'll keep this card. Like I'll incinerate the card before, like unless someone like, I get a lot of times,
Yeah.
especially because, you do the live streams and stuff. Someone's just getting into the hobby, or like I got a buddy and he's a Jude collector because his son's name is Jude. Like I'm a person. Like I'm gonna make a deal with somebody like
Yeah.
that because it's just like I like the good vibes, I'm in it to build my collection. But I've made great friends, in the hobby, guys that I talk to every single
Yeah.
day. So to me, that's way more important. The relationships are way more important than making $40 or $50 off you. You know what I mean?
way, way, way more. I
Way more.
wish more people, especially the newer people, I just think that too many people came into this hobby post boom
Post
when
boom.
everything
Yeah.
in the world seemed about
Yeah.
post boom, everything in the world seemed to be about making money. It wasn't just soccer cards,
It
obviously.
was everything. Yeah.
Whatever it was, any collectible, any meme stocks, blah blah
Watches.
blah,
Yeah.
whatever you
Oh
want to
yeah.
call it. Yeah,
GameStop.
watch
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
everything. So it kind of sucks that like Pete came in with that idea first
Hmm.
and not the this is a hobby. Let's meet other people that like the same stuff I do. Look, I have a few friends from high school. I have some friends obviously after like college and after or whatever, but
Hmm.
like COVID kind of threw that all for like a loop, when nobody
Yeah.
could like meet each other. And so like meeting these people in the hobby that you sit there and you talk to every day, it gives I enjoy that as much as the cards themselves,
Oh
and
yeah.
I wish
Yeah. For
more
sure.
people looked at it like that, but
Yeah.
you have so
Yeah.
many people that are looking at it as a monetary thing. And that
And that was
I
my
put
like.
out a yeah, go ahead.
No. No. Go. Go.
No, I like I forget exactly everything I put, but I put like my thoughts about 2023 for soccer card hobby or something
Oh yeah.
something along those lines. I forget exactly what I named. And
Some
one of
New
my things
Year's
was in
New
there was
Year's
like,
post. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, get a friend, take a friend to a show. Like
Yeah.
I, in the boom, I got friends into the hobby, and it's been great. I'll do shows with them, and they're not nearly as into cards as I am, but it's fun. It gives us something else to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
I wish more people did that, and I think it's probably happening, especially maybe in Europe where everybody's so new. It might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Europeans are as money hungry, or as like super capitalistic as like the Americans that are
We've got a
that
certain way
came
here in this
in.
country. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
And
art
not
of the
not to say
deal.
that they don't care over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but and that's part of the reason I said like that's where the fun part comes in. Like if you
Hmm.
if you make everything monetary and you have this comp and you have this thing that dictates everything, there is fun taken out. I don't care what most people say. Like there's some fun taken out. Like I like transacting as much as any of it. Because
Hmm.
that's just kind of how I am. And I think if you're like you're either a collector, you're probably either a collector or you're in a transactor in some way, whether you want to call it a flipper or
Yeah. Right.
whatever. And so the collectors don't really care about the transacting part. They're just trying to set build or PC or whatever. More
Hmm.
power to them. But the ones that are like that enjoy the transaction, if you're like I said, if you're a slave to these comps, it's just not going to be as fun. Like,
It's not fun.
it's
It's
just
not
not.
fun. And that's why
No.
sometimes, like, and that was my idea with like creating the Discord. It's certainly not to sell more of my cards because I probably have a lot less cards than many people. But the idea is, can we bring in more people who think like us or new people to the hobby, introduce them to our way of thinking, and have it be fun that way, where we're a little community and then there's other little communities and we join up. And honestly, going to National, which was the biggest show I've ever been to, was the best time. Like, I have a group of buddies. We're in an Instagram chat. We have been since we were in a break together like 2 years ago. And we talk 25 or 30 times a day. Like, it is a
Yeah.
constant flow in the group chat. And we all went to National. We had the time of our lives. And it was meant shit about the cards. Like, the cards were fun, but like, it was hanging out and seeing the cards with them and, shooting the breeze and making fun of each other. To me, that was the whole thing. And on the comp front, you know, that's why sometimes you just let it fly. Like, I think if you do a lot of selling and buying, I'm constantly buying and selling because I get bored easily. So like stuff comes into the PC, stuff leaves the PC. And, I collect Arsenal. I'm an Arsenal fan. So there's a lot of my buddies are Arsenal fans. So I'll sell them the cards. And it's not about the money. It's like I want to get into something new or different. and I'm sick of looking at this Gabriel Jesus card or Aaron Ramsdale auto because now he's benched and nobody cares about him anymore. Like
Right.
it can be so much more than the comp. And I think that was probably where you started, was that it would just be a ton more fun potentially with a lot less data points than we have.
Yeah, just because I don't think people would feel as bad, you know? Like
Yeah.
there wouldn't be this report card of like, oh, well, I just got screwed. If there was no number,
Who
then
won the
you don't
deal?
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we did a deal. I got a card I wanted, or I got rid of a card I wanted. All right, this was great, Like
Yeah.
there would be no feeling bad,
Yeah.
And what's the saying? Something like, a good deal is where both people walk away pissed off or something like that,
Equally
So,
unhappy. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
equally
usually just
unhappy.
a
So it's
settlement in court. We don't want our hobbies to feel that way.
no, it's just like I said, I just wish it was. I think if it was more fun, then people would, stick around.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of sticking around, feel free to drop any questions or comments into the chat. We've got a few already. We're gonna just breeze through here. Matt says the collecting part of this hobby gets ruined by comps for me. I think we all agree there. The art of the deal is no longer a thing. Hate asking about a price, and someone is like, "Let me check eBay." Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean that is the general theory of it all, the general thesis of it all. Like,
Yeah.
if yeah, good
There's
job, Matt. Wait,
there's almost nothing. There's almost no worse feeling I had at National than when I'd walk up to a dealer's table, and you would think a dealer is held to a higher standard, right? It's hard to get those tables unless you've been doing it for 50 years. And you'd ask about a price on a card, they'd say, "Let me check the comps." Like, have you not done this? Like, what? Like, my man, you're running a store here. Like.
well, I think I don't know if I said it to you, but when you walk around somewhere like National or like a huge show, the thing that I'll look at all the tables, and if you go up to the one that has 87% basketball, ultra modern basketball and football, and you'll see like two random soccer cards.
Yeah.
I always ask, like, I mean, not always, but like if I'm interested, I'll be like, how much is that card? And one of two things is about to happen. One, they way overpaid for it back in the boom because they wanted, soccer was hot and they wanted to get in soccer, and they're trying to get their money back, which obviously, they don't even care. They're like, I just want, the price is way too high essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're like, I'm sick of looking at this card. I just want this card out of my life. And then, maybe a deal gets done. So it's like when people always like, oh, there's not a ton of only soccer. Like, yeah, I mean, there was 10% soccer at the National, but people are like, oh, there's no soccer. And I was like, well, there's actually a lot of big cards around here. They're just sitting at tables that have,
you gotta find them.
Mostly, basketball, football.
Yeah,
you gotta hunt a little bit. But
there was like 3 or 4, a handful of soccer only tables, but soccer everywhere. I think by the time I went through back for day 2, I had a better sense of like, okay, you really got to look in the nooks and crannies of some of these cases, and there's some gems, like real monsters.
There's massive cards there. There was massive cards there, and they were sitting next to ultramodern, football and basketball or whatever,
Yeah.
and so it, like I don't mind looking. I'm not going to dig through value boxes for it. As long as it's in a case, I'll yeah, you're better than me.
Vida was making Vida Breaks was making fun. He was making fun of me. He's like, I was in the National with you. I couldn't keep up with you, or I couldn't keep track of you because you just wanted to stop and look through every value box to see if they had soccer like hidden in there. I'm like, you're damn right, man. I'm grinding. By day 3, I was just grinding. All right, don't tell people about PWCC. Need to keep picking off vintage for cheap. Amen. Oh.
Yeah. Do you grind Card Hobby, by the way, or no?
Okay, so I've been using Card Hobby a few months, but I will say it's almost exclusively PC. So it's mostly Arsenal, and I've been just cherry picking Inception autos and like the Chronicles parallels that you don't see a ton here. But not to flip. No, not to flip.
It sucks for me. You have a huge advantage being on the East Coast because like they're they end at like 5-6 a.m. and I don't even if it's a big card, I'm probably not going to wake up. I don't set an alarm. I usually wake up pretty early, but I just don't set an alarm.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's great.
Back
it's
to the
great
question.
for me. It's great for me. 8 a.m. Have my coffee and chase Martin Odegaard tops Inception autos. On the flip side, as the market continues its downtrend, do you think sellers stick too strongly to a last comp? It's a good question.
Yeah, I think it depends on the seller. Like, I think it depends on what you're trying to get out of the hobby. I think, it just comes down to if you feel bad, like if you get less than the last comp and that makes you feel bad, you're probably not going to do it. Yeah. If I get less than the last comp, as long as it's reasonable, I want out of the card. Like, I would feel worse about blowing a deal for $5 and then seeing that card in my collection or on my eBay 6 months later.
Right.
Like, even if I made that extra $5, it's like, you just got to keep looking at these cards, and it's just, but that's me. Look, if you can't sleep because you think you lost the deal, then that's you. That is not me.
I think it's funny. You do, like, I do deals partially for a living, right? So like part of my, I don't think it's a big secret, like as a lawyer, part of my, I do some litigation. So I'm doing deals constantly. And like, if you're losing sleep because you lost a deal on a soccer card, wait until you like lose someone's entire case for them, which could be someone's whole livelihood. You know what I mean? Like, I try to keep some relativity here or sense of perspective in that these are not real problems. And we have drama in the hobby, like you see it happen and you're like, oh, sometimes I get sucked in, somebody's coming after a buddy, you get sucked in. But it's like, these are small problems. These are first world problems. Like,
yeah.
My wife will always say, "You paid how much for this tiny cardboard picture of another man?" Don't ask me about my business.
Yeah, it's like that's that's kind of where we're at with, like, it's why I kind of don't transact a lot in ultra modern cheaper stuff, because it's just like you're gonna probably drive yourself crazy at the end of the day.
If I do, I'm just buying auction. I'm just buying auctions. Like, if I win it, I win it. If I don't, like, I don't want to have to be talking to you about a $17 card. You know what I mean? Like, like, I just don't like.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, like, you don't even know it, but like somewhat recently, like you bought a card for me or whatever, and I recognized your name. I knew it wasn't like what the card was worth, and it was actually funny because I had multiples, and I sold one the exact same day for 20% more.
Yes.
So I was like, what am I going to do? Like go back and just be like,
what was it? Do you remember? You got to.
I do. I'll tell you about it after.
All right. Was it an auction?
Yeah. I mean, it was just, no, it was a, you offered.
Oh shit. Really?
You offered. And I was like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Yeah, it was a hot player. I'm guessing you're either resold it by now or you're going to, it's a player that did a move. But look, I mean, I got the card.
I didn't even know.
I got the card. I got the card on PWCC. I believe that it was one of those things like I said earlier. I just bought I don't even know what the comp on the card was when I bought it. I still to this day don't know what the comp was on the card. It was a PSA 10 rookie of a guy that I thought was just generally undervalued, right? And so I was like, I'm just gonna, and it just happened that his cards just kept hitting PWCC. I guess people just gave up on him.
Was it the Doku?
And I was just, yeah,
the Peacock.
Yeah, so it was Doku.
Yeah.
So
no shit.
I was like, what am I gonna like? I'm all this Doku, what am I gonna like beat him up over
Yes.
$25 or
You should
whatever?
have. You should
Like,
have. No, I still have that card.
yeah, I was
I'm looking like behind me, like I'm going to see the card back there. Like, I think it's still there.
yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Oh, that's
yeah,
funny.
but I did well on that card. Like as a percentage, like
And I'm not like
didn't change.
you telling me that does not hurt me at all, right? Like, I'm
Well,
happy
I
you
mean,
did well. I'm happy you made money. Like, what the
yeah, I
hell?
mean, I did well, and you did well because, like I said, I literally sold the same card the same day for 25% more.
There we go. And now he's the best winger at Manchester City. Everybody's happy.
Exactly. But anyway.
We got Ben finding a ton of Dybala for my PC on Card Hobby. I mean, yeah, there's just lots of PC finds to be had there. I don't see any more questions. If you guys have any more questions, we'll take them. But we've gone 45 minutes. I don't know if there's more you want to say on comps, but I'm comped out.
Yeah, I'm good on comps. I got plenty to say, but we're trying to keep this on topic, and yeah, just I guess I'll end with don't be a slave to comps. Be reasonable. I'm not saying don't be reasonable, but at the end of the day, get into cards you want. If you don't really love the card, don't be afraid to lose a little bit, or you feel like you lose a little bit, and just try to have fun with it. I think we kind of see this similarly in that regard, and I think it's fun for us. Like I don't want stress. I don't think you want stress from this. So if this is ever causing you stress,
Else.
try to figure out why.
Yeah.
or we want everybody in here. We want everybody in here to have fun. We want you to tell your friend. We're all going to do better with the more people that are in the hobby.
Yeah, that's what I always say. We got to focus on, a flashy new thing comes out, but if it's not growing the pie, we're not gonna all do better. So I'm focused on how do we grow this pie? Like, how do we bring more people and more eyeballs in? And I do think we're on an upward trend here in the United States with some of the stuff we've got coming down. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I don't want to touch too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think no, it's just funny. Look, the soccer card, the amount of soccer card collectors has grown a ton. Like I saw something. This was a general card Twitter thing the other day. It was like, is there more? Forget the exact question, but it was basically like, are there more collectors now than there were in 2021? And I can say for sure that there's more soccer card collectors. I can't tell you that there's more football or basketball or whatever, but I mean there's definitely more soccer card collectors, and it's only growing. I mean, look at these European shows that didn't exist 18 months ago. There was like one German show, I think, that's been has some heritage or whatever. Everything else, it's like in the last 18 months ish or whatever, 2 years maybe. It's like, of course it's growing. Like,
oh yeah.
So as long as we keep having fun and don't let these companies take all the money, I think we're going to be just fine. And that's why I want everybody to have fun. It is right. Fun.
It is fun. It's tons of fun. And we are gonna talk on. I appreciate you joining us today. SoccerCardsHQ.com. We are going to talk, and there will be another video out very soon about some companies that may be trying to take your money. In our conversation about the Topps Finest release that just came out yesterday, and so thanks to Scott for coming on. I'm sure we'll have him back as a guest because we got a lot more to talk about. So I appreciate that, and thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So, did I cut him off? I cut him off. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, we're good.
All right. All right. So that is going to do it for this episode of the BTL Live Show. I want to tell you about our upcoming episodes. Next week, we'll be out with a thorough deep data dive on the gem rates for all 22-23 soccer card sets. And we're calling that show our Uncut Gems Show, a little spoof on Mr. Adam Sandler's movie there. Make sure you jump in the Discord, bit.ly/BTL Discord for conversations about all things soccer. This has been BTL Live. I thank you for joining me, and we will see you real soon. Thanks, everybody.